Well, today you heard a very emotional hearing over an issue of civil rights. I heard the groups that were opposed to marriage equality saying they agree that people should be able to live together and have the same rights as everyone else. So basically what we're arguing over is a word. I know it's an important word, but it's a word. Unfortunately, couple after couple came forward and said, it's not working. I'm being denied rights. I don't think any of us should be in a position where we can tell someone who they can love and who they can marry. I think it's wrong, especially in this state. Senator Weinberg and Lesniak addressed the religious issue. So it's not about religion. And as much as people want to try to make it about religion, we're not going to let them turn the page and go in the wrong direction. This is about civil rights. And I mean, it's that simple. It's upsetting when you hear about, well, we tackled the tough issue here with the death penalty, which I was proud to support Senator Lesniak in ending that practice in the state of New Jersey. Tough issues are handled here. That's what you do. That's what you vote. We vote on issues here. We don't put civil rights on a ballot. We deal with them right here as we should. We don't put the budget on a ballot. We don't put funding for visually impaired children on a ballot. Women's health care centers on a ballot. We deal with issues in this House. We were elected by the people of the state of New Jersey, and we'll stand for election again based on our actions. And anyone that thinks that putting civil rights first and foremost in this state, well, if they're not for that, I don't want them to be for me. I believe in civil rights, and I support them, and I want to call up my colleague, Senator Weinberg first, and then Senator Lesniak, and then we'll take some questions.
Thank you again to Senate President Sweeney for your leadership, for getting us to this day and the days that come.
They said you were feisty.
Yeah. And I think when I was sworn in by you in the Senate, I said as long as there is feisty left in me, this issue is front and center. And indeed it is. We do not put civil rights questions on the ballot. With all due respect to my colleagues at the other side of the table, a couple of them took a cop-out. It's not that they're against same-sex marriage. It's not that they're against civil rights for everyone. It's just, in this issue, let's let the people decide. Well, we're not putting the governor's appointees to the Supreme Court on the ballot. We don't put judges on the ballot. We don't pull all the other issues that Senate President Sweeney referred to. This is an issue of justice, an issue of justice for all, an issue of building values, of building family values, of giving children loving homes that are actually recognized throughout the state of New Jersey and indeed throughout the nation. Let me close with something that came to my mind beside hoping that we're making the words of our hearts more audible, which is how I started out much earlier today. But it was Supreme Court Justice Debbie Porras who said, words do matter. And indeed, the word marriage matters. And we are going to send this to the governor's desk somehow. Of that I guarantee you. Thank you.
Thank you, Loretta. It was my hope, and it still remains my hope, that Governor Christie will follow Governor Tom Kaine's lead on the matter of conscience. When I was in the Assembly a couple of decades ago, when he vetoed the moment of silence bill, he said, this is a matter of conscience. I believe it's unconstitutional. I'm going to veto this bill, but I'm not asking any one member of the legislature to follow my lead. You have to follow your conscience. Well, today, Governor Christie took away the vote, quite frankly, of Republican legislators by saying, I don't want you to vote on this. We want to put it on the ballot. I'm hoping that when this bill reaches the governor's desk, and it will reach the governor's desk, he reconsiders. And when he vetoes the bill, I understand he's going to veto the bill. He said he's going to veto the bill. So he's going to veto the bill. But when he does that, it's it's my hope that he would give direction to his Republican colleagues that they should vote their conscience. Because I know that if they vote their conscience, not only will they vote for this bill, but they'll override the governor's veto. Thank you.
Questions?
Senator Sweeney, how does this provide protections for religious groups that don't want to perform?
It creates exemptions they don't have to acknowledge. So, you know, you have a same-sex couple that goes to church with a civil union every day right now. They go to church, church doesn't have to recognize a marriage. They don't have to recognize anything, so I still go to church. You know what I'm saying? They've been exempted from recognizing or performing any services at all.
They don't even have to have in their facilities wedding receptions
Yeah.
or anything of that nature.
We heard the Knights of Columbus testify today. If someone wanting to have a same-sex marriage went to a Knights of Columbus hall and said, I want to have my same-sex marriage ceremony here, they can say no without any civil actions against them. It's very simple.
Also, there are many religious leaders here who complain that their marriage ceremony is not the same. They're being denied the same opportunity to convey, solemnize a same-sex couple's marriage that doesn't have the same effect as other religions when they marry heterosexual couples. So this bill actually grants more religious freedom than we have today.
Senator Sweeney, could you comment on this veto promise of the governor as to what the point is of even going through this exercise?
The point of going through a fight for civil rights, are you kidding me? For standing up for people to give them the same rights? I'm offended by that. And the governor, you know, the governor's the governor, he's got his opinion, but there are many Republicans, because I've spoken to them, that want to vote for this bill. Now, if the governor wants to stifle and silence his colleagues, that's one thing. But he's not going to stifle or silence us. Someone has to stand up for equality and fairness. You know, I apologized in the past, but I'm telling you right now, I'm fighting to get this done. And if we have to go for an override, we'll work every angle we possibly have to. But right now, it's about getting it onto his desk. And it's offensive for anyone to think, why bother if the governor doesn't want to do it? Well, guess what? He's wrong on this one. Next.
I think feisty is catching.
Yes, it is.
Do you have the votes to override a veto, or?
We will work towards that if necessary. I am hoping, and I've said this before, the governor is a very decent human being. He and I have done some great things together against parties, you know, against our party principles, to do what we believe was right for the citizens of this state. I'm asking the governor to look in his heart and recognize not one church has to recognize what we're doing here. Now, one thing has to change in a religious community that they don't want to change. And there are religious communities, as Senator Lesniak said, that have been denied what they believe in. This is about civil rights. You know, people want to deny that, they want to argue that. We'll fight for civil rights, and we're going to work with our colleagues, because, as Senator Lesniak said, there are members, many members of their side, that want to vote for this. They want to. So the governor should allow them to vote their conscience. And we're going to work towards that goal. You know, his announcement today was to try to put a damper on what we're trying to do. It's not happening. We're not walking away. We're not backing down. We're not giving up. You know, this is about civil rights, period.
Part of the exemption, though, sounds like it allows churches or religious groups to discriminate against people. Do you feel that at all?
You know, today, any rabbi or clergy person can refuse to perform a wedding of two divorced people, of people of mixed religious backgrounds, for any reason that they so choose. It is clearly up to the religious person to decide which kinds of marriages he or she will preside over. So that doesn't change anything. It goes on today. Priests, rabbis can discriminate against couples that they don't want to marry today, yesterday, or next week.
And I would just add on to what Senator Weinberg said. The two senators went above and beyond in respect to the people that you heard testify against, about their concerns about it being forced upon them. But again, when you look at countries like South Africa, you know, that recognize this, it's long past so.
This bill provides more religious freedoms for for those religions that don't believe in same-sex marriage than the New York bill that passed and is already law.
Senator, given that this issue has been presented by both sides as important, even cataclysmic, of incredible significance, deep,
It's not cataclysmic. The
Cataclysmic.
world's not going to fall apart.
fine. But the point is that both sides seem to agree that this is of major import. Then why not let the public vote on it? What is the harm in doing that?
Like the women's right to vote, like in 1915.
Well, it's not
When that-
1915.
Doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. Listen,
You know,
George Bush put on the ballot in 10 states, I think in 2000, a vote to deny people same-sex marriages for one reason. He knew that he could gin up his base, spend a ton of money to suppress and try to defeat an action like this. Listen, if we're going to do that, all civil rights votes that have been taken through history, think about the fact all the things that have been done through history were not done by votes, they were done by legislative actions.
One of the Knights of Columbus folks brought up education in schools and how this is presented to children. What do you guys foresee? Do you see a fight with parents or educators?
I mean, there are same-sex couples now.
They exist.
They exist now, they exist in other states. Are there problems in the education systems in New York and that? You have some of the finest education systems in the world in states that recognize same-sex marriage. It hasn't been a problem there. There's no reason why there would be a problem.
And by the way, I believe the state of Washington is going to beat us.
Yes.
We will become the 8th state rather than the
Right.
7th state. And the governor of that state has already indicated signing the bill.
Senator Sweeney, you said George W. Bush used this matter to gin up his base. Do you think the referendum proposed by Governor Christie is a way of ginning up his conservative base against Senator Menendez?
Well, listen, I think it's a way to avoid dealing with the real issue. I think that's what the governor is trying to do here, is to give cover or a pass to some of his members so that they, you know, I can tell you, his members have explained to him that they want to support this. There's members that want to support it. So this is their out. Here, I'll give you a pass. So when Senator Bateman raised that issue, that's why I sat here today, through the hearing, I wanted to hear the testimony. But I gave him the quick answer and the right answer. We are not going down that road. So we should vote on this like we've done every civil rights issue in this country over the years, and we're going to do it here in New Jersey. Anyone else? We did good then.